Hello, welcome in. Sorry, I was a little delayed, but I'm here. My computer's driving me crazy. I have to update the operating system because something went funky. Anyway, how is everyone doing? I'm Tammy Mastroberti, best-selling author of The Universe is Talking to You. Tap into signs and synchronicities to reveal magical moments every day. And this is my weekly spirit boost. I missed you guys last week, but if you followed along on my Instagram and my Facebook stories, you saw that I was at the local crystal show. Yes, I'm here, Mary. You saw that I was at the local crystal show that happens here every year, and I took you guys with me on that journey through my stories. It was so much fun. Oh God, I wish it was here more than once a year. Although I don't want to spend money more than once a year so on all those crystals. But for those of you in my membership community, I did get you. You guys know we do monthly giveaways in the paid membership higher helpline. And oh my gosh, I got some really cool giveaways. So stay tuned for our June and July giveaways. You guys are gonna, oh my gosh, I want to keep them, but I'm giving them to you. Anyway, so it was so much fun. And I am back. And so I wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about guides because I'm teaching a class for literally called Meet a Personal Spirit Guide. And I know I always talk to you guys about making sure you call in that higher help, right? Tapping into that divine higher help line. And I always say you want to call in the collective. So anytime you're having a problem, right? You always start by calling in your collective, which is I call in my angels, my guides, my loved ones who have passed on, all those in my soul society, only those of the highest of vibration to be with me now. That to me is the collective. And I think I always tell people start there. You don't have to know your specific guides to ask them for help. When you're ready to level up, right, from that state, at that point, that's when it is so amazing to meet and understand who your actual guides are. So you have guides, we all do, to help us with specific things. Years ago, when I first started meeting my guides, I was blown away by how specific they really hone in to help me with things. So guide that specifically helps me with money and finances. I have a guide that specifically helps me with taming chaos in my life and being consistent with my spiritual practices. I have a guide that I have actually a group of guides plus one guide who really kind of showed up as a teaching guide, which helps me teach, right? Because of the work that I do. I have a guide that is a relationship guide that just helps me with my relationships. I know what they look like. I'm a very visual person. The exercise that I'm going to bring everybody through in that class that's happening next Wednesday. And if you are on Instagram, you can go into my bio. If you are on YouTube or Facebook, it's in the description. You can click on the link to go to the class. I'm going to walk you through an exercise to use all your senses because we all perceive energy in a different way. Some of us see visually, we can see what someone looks like. Sometimes you have more of an auditory thing, so you can hear a sound that they might make for a yes or a no. There could be a certain scent that they use. So there's so many different sort of senses that we can walk through for it. Now, what is amazing is when you get to know your specific guides, not only can you call on them specifically when you need help with something in that area, but I teach you how to actually have a conversation with them. Do not think that you cannot do this. I don't care if you think you're not psychic or intuitive. I promise you, you can do it. I've walked so many people through this and they're always blown away. And again, the class is happening next Wednesday. There's two options. You can either buy the single class or you can join that higher helpline membership community for only $29. Take the class, check out the membership for a month. Hopefully you'll stay. If not, you cancel anytime. So those are the two options to join the class, again, which happening next Wednesday. If you buy the single class, you get the replay. So, no issues there. Oh, Sam, you're on Facebook. I actually have a bunch more. So we're live on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So I'm happy there's 11 on Facebook, but there must be a bunch on YouTube as well. So hi, YouTube. So anyway, the point of the matter is I teach you how to actually interact with them through automatic writing to ask a question and get an answer. Not just a yes or no answer, but actually get information. And the cool thing is once you do this process with me, you can do it again and again. You'll own the replay. So you can do it again and again to meet other guides. I cannot tell you the amazing, I love walking people through it and then getting the feedback of like, oh, my guide's name is this, and he's helping me with this, or she's helping me with this, and oh said this, and I can't believe this, and this was so cool. So we all have this ability to tap into this divine higher helpline, and there are levels of doing it, right? When you start interacting with a guide specifically, it's that higher level. It's that sort of taking it up a notch, right? Where not only are they sending you signs and you get to know them and work with them, and I like to actually talk to each guide and ask, and I walk you through this, like, what is the sign you would use for me to let me know you're around? Because I want each guide to use different signs, just like our loved ones will use different signs so that we know it's them. I feel like it's the same thing with our guides, right? So if we want to know if we're on the right track, or we want to know that that you heard my prayer, you heard me ask for help, and you're around me, and everything is going to be okay, let's get a sign. So that all, I walk you through all of that, and you'll literally leave with a whole guidebook of how this guide interacts with you. In addition to that, as part of the class, I just have to say, you're going to get an MP3 that you can use afterwards to continue conversations, because I don't want to leave you hanging, right? I want you to be able to have something that you can now that you've made this connection, you want to continue to go on. So all of that is in the class. But how I interact with my guides is I will call in the collective. I always find out what sign they use. If I don't get a sign from them, although you will get it during this process, I will assign them a sign specifically, right? So even if you don't know who your guides are, you can say the guide that helps me with X, Y, and Z. Even if you don't know their name, I promise you they're there. You have a guide for relationships. You have a guide for money. You have a guide for business and career. You have a guide if you have your own business for marketing. You have guides for all of these things, right? So you can just assign them a specific sign and then look for it. Obviously, like I said, through the process in my class next week, you're going to get the actual sign. You're going to leave with a whole list of how they communicate with you. So you can assign them a sign. You call on them for help. You call in the collective, but then I always say to you, well, you can call in specific guides or specific angels, whoever you want to work with after that. When you know your guide that works with a specific thing, that goes into that specific category, right? So I know that my finance guide, my guide that helps me with money, who, by the way, looks like Mr. Rogers. I swear. He has like, I think, he has glasses. Sometimes he doesn't always wear the glasses, but he has glasses. He has like a button-down shirt, khaki pants. His name is Simon. Very like an accountant, what you would think of as an accountant in my mind. And that's how he showed up for me. So, but I would call specifically on him and ask him for guidance and for help with something specific, right? So you can always do the collective, but the more specific you can get, the more you start having these conversations, the more you start having these communications back and forth, right? The universe is talking to you. I wrote because I wanted to teach you how to receive, but you also, the other side of that is asking for help, which is what my second book, The Higher Help Method, is going to be about. That'll be out early next year. So you can specifically ask and assign a sign, and then you can interact with that guide. Whether you take my class or not, I'm telling you what you can do. The other thing that I like to do is use oracle cards to specifically ask a question. So if you don't know who your guide is in a specific area, you would just generally ask the question. But if let's say you're struggling in relationships. So I have a relationship guide named Charlemagne. She has like red curly hair, long, and she wears like a crown of flowers when she shows up for me. And let's say I had a specific issue in a relationship and I wanted to ask her. I would call her in when I was doing my oracle cards and ask her for help, right? So you start developing these one-on-one relationships in addition to being able to call in the collective. Does that mean you can't call in the collective also? No, you can totally call in the collective as well anytime. And I always say any prayer that you start, you always call in the collective, and then you add in specifically, I would like to ask for help from specific angels, specific goddesses, and your specific guides that work with the areas of that you're asking for help with. So again, if you don't know, you can just say, and whoever my guide or guides are around X, Y, and Z, and you can add that in without knowing. But when you know, it takes it to a whole other level, and it allows you to create these conversations. And when I teach you this automatic writing method, and you're going to get that bonus MP3 that's going to allow you to then go back and have conversations with this guide again and again, or any guide that you then meet, because you can just repeat the process. You're going to get full on answers, right? And I'm telling you, you can do it, because I remember when I first started, before I ever developed my intuition, before I ever thought anything, about any of it, I thought, oh my, I'm not gonna be able to do this, but I remember I went through an exercise years ago with James Van Praagh. I went through an exercise years ago with another teacher I can't remember. I've gone through so many different exercises to do this, which is why I'm now teaching people how to do it. I was shocked at the information that came through. And that's what I love about when I teach the classes. People are like, oh my gosh, this was so crazy. Like, I can't believe I was able to do this. I can't believe I got this information. I promise you, you can do it. And the best part is, like I said, you'll own that class if you take it with me. But anyway, back to guides. So you always call in the collective. You can call in your specific guides for specific help with things. You want to have a sign that you work with that guide with. So again, if you're in communication with them, like I teach you, you can get a specific sign from them that they will use. If you are not, you can literally assign them a sign to use. So now you're developing these one-on-one connections. It takes communication with the universe and your ability to get your own answers to a whole other level beyond just signs and synchronicity. It allows you to get your own answers and your own guidance, right? How many of us are stuck in an area and we don't know what to do? And so now we'll book an appointment with a psychic, or we'll try and figure something out. What if you could just go direct? It has worked for me every time. And I'll tell you, the answers that I get from my guides are always amazing and what I need to hear. Sometimes it's not what we expect. It's the same thing with signs or asking for the help to create something, but then the universe has something else in line, right? It's the same thing with that. We don't always get what we expect, but I always get what I need. I always get what I need, and it always surprises and delights me when I'm done. And I will tell you, like, for the when you're working with your guides, you want your own journal to do all of this work in, because you want to go back and read through stuff. Because I tell you, I've seen things with my guides where they'll repeat something over and over again because I haven't done it. Like, they'll say, you really need to do this, and I'm like, oh yeah, I really need to do that. And then I'll go off and do, whatever I'm doing, and I forget to do it, and then I'll go to do another session. And sometimes I'll ask specific questions, but sometimes I will say to my guides, like I do with my oracle cards, what do I most need to know right now around this specific situation? Or what do I most need to know right now to help in this area? And then they'll tell me, and they'll tell me again. And so then they'll repeat it again. And I'm like, oh God, I know you told me to do that. I didn't do it. Why am I not doing it? You want to have like a record of it. So anyway, these are the types of things that I do to work with my guides, and you can work with them again, whether you know them or not. That's why I tell you, call in the collective. So if you're like, I don't want to know who my guides are, I just would rather work with the collective, you can totally do that. You can also, like I said, just say, whoever my relationship guide or guides are, use XYZ sign, and you can do the assign a sign. But when you start to know who they are, and if you're interested in sort of getting your own direct answers, developing these relationships to help you in these specific areas, that I can help you with. And that is why I'm teaching that class next week. And again, it's $47 for the class. You own the replay plus that bonus MP3, so you can continue conversations. Or you want to join the membership and check us out for a month and hang out with us and do our Facebook Lives where I do individual readings and all of that, then you take the class for $29. So, and that's the first time I'm ever offering this sort of as an option. So, and then you, like I said, you own the class and you're able to do it again and again. And I still, after all these years, will go through it and say, well, let me see what other guide I can meet. I also met a channeling guide, right? So I'm going to teach you automatic writing. You can actually meet a guide that will help you with that process. There are so many people, you guys, working with you and working for you on the other side. It is incredible, right? So many times we think we're alone. We think we can't figure things out. We wish we had someone to talk to. We wish we had somebody who could tell us what to do. You have it. You have 24/7 access to this divine higher helpline. My job, I believe, is to help you tap into that. And this is one way to tap into it. You have so many resources available to you. And once you start learning these tools to tap into them, you can go back to them again and again. You'll never again be like, oh gosh, I don't know what to do. And I wish somebody would just tell me what to do and I can't make a decision. No, you're going to go to your oracle cards and talk with your guides. You're going to go to the automatic writing and talk to the guides. You're going to get information and you're going to be, and you will always feel better after you do it, especially after an automatic writing session. I always come through and I'm like, oh, I'm going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. I figured it out. So that's really the way. So I wanted to give you, again, whether you know your guides or not, I wanted to come on here and give you some tips to work with them, like the assign and all of that. But if you're interested in sort of getting to know them, that class next Wednesday, again, the link is on YouTube and Facebook. It's right in here in Instagram. You can go right to my bio to check that out. I will be teaching you, I will be walking you through. You will meet one guide, you will interact with them, you will ask questions, you will get what sign they're going to use, all of that. And then you'll also get that MP3 to use for conversations afterwards. But then you'll own it so you can go back and meet more guides and more guides and more guides and start literally creating your own list of like, here's my guide for this and here's how they interact with me and here's how they say a yes or no and here's how this happens and here's the sign they use. This is my guide for this. And you literally are building your own guide, your own reference, your own resource for how to get answers and help and assistance from the universe. I don't want anybody to ever feel like they are alone or they can't access these things on your own. That's not to say that you shouldn't go to other resources. I mean, I still will go to people who channel things and intuitives because sometimes you can't get past your own stuff. But I tell you something, I get so much more on my own now than I ever did before because I am going direct. And that's what I want to teach you. I want to teach you how to go direct. Okay, so let me just see if I missed any questions or comments. Oh. Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad. Oh, you love James Van Prague too. Sam says I love James Van Prague. Oh my God, James Van Prague is probably one of my favorite mediums. He is just the nicest, happiest guy. I've interviewed him so many times. I've taken years ago. I took classes with him like years ago. Just the nicest, happy, fun guy. Love him. Amazing. And his work is awesome. So I highly recommend that. Let me see. Robin said, let me just put my glasses on so I can read properly. We're living the same life. I've been communicating with my guide's mom, dad, higher self for years, but recently it's gotten out of control to the point I almost feel crazy. Do you mean like, so when you're saying communicating, so I do it in a controlled setting with automatic writing. So I'm not sure if you're just talking about signs that are sort of coming at you. But if you, anytime, so let's say you're intuitive and you're opening up your intuition, right? And you are sort of letting things in and it's starting to feel like too much, you can ask them to back off. You can ask them to back up. You can ask them to give you a breath. I've seen mediums do this even in readings that they've done. I have so many friends that are mediums and they'll just be like, I need a minute. Like the information is coming so fast, right? So I don't know if that's what you're saying or if you just mean like so much stuff is coming at you and it's awesome, then that's cool. And I hope that's the case. Oh, I just saw you, Robin. You said a good crazy. Yay! Good crazy is good. We'll take good crazy. That's good. because it's not crazy. It's actually the opposite of crazy. It's crazy not to live like this. That's how I look at it. Hazel, is there a deadline to sign up for the class? Yeah, by next. So the class is next Wednesday, May 31st at 6 p.m. Eastern, and we shut sales down right after the class. So you have until then to sign up for it. And then, like I said, you own it. So even if you can't join me live at 6 p.m., you can go back and the replay is available the next day. Yes, Robin says she does meditation. Oh, hold on. Oh, you're welcome, Hazel. So, I just wanted to come on here, obviously, to tell you I'm offering this class, but also I always like to give you stuff that you can just take away from this live. So I tried to give you some information that you can utilize right now, whether you know your specific guides or not. But I have to tell you, once I started learning who they are, oh my gosh, like it's so crazy. And I gave you like a handful. There's so many other ones. There's so many ones that are helping me in business specifically. And by the way, I always get the question like, can your loved one be a guide? Certainly. Your loved one who's passed on can be a guide. You can also have a guide of, maybe someone like in history that you never met in this life. I've had that shown up for me where I'm like, this is a little crazy, but you're showing up, so I'm going to take you. It's so cool when you start sort of bridging that gap and realizing and connecting in that deeper way, right? So I always tell people I start you where you are and start opening up to the signs around you and realizing you're not alone, and then you can go up a level, and then you can go up a level, because there's so much available to us. There's so many resources available to us that we can learn to tap into ourselves. And that's really why I get excited. And that is why I teach what I teach about really tapping into that divine higher helpline, because, living in this physical, dense world is not easy. It is not easy. It is a struggle. It is a struggle a lot of times. We have all these spiritual tools to make it easier, right? And that's why I teach you all of these different tools, and I teach you how to use them to tap into this higher helpline. But I truly believe that before we came here, before we were like, I'm going to incarnate into this body, I'm going to do it again. And I always joke with some of my friends during like tough times where we're like, if we're up there at a table and we're all sitting around and we're like, let's go, let's do it again. Like, let's rethink it. Right? I'm kidding. Of course I'd come back. But sometimes you're just like, what was I thinking? But I believe we knew that we had all of these resources available to us, and that we would be able to handle it, and that we would be guided, and that we would be able to tap into that guidance, and that no matter what insanity ensued in our lives around us in this world, we were going to be able to do it. We were going to be able to work through it because of all of this. And then we forgot. And so as I have remembered, I have decided to sort of dedicate my life to teaching other people how to remember as well, and sort of be able to navigate this life with a little bit more joy, a little bit more certainty, a little bit less stress, and really sort of fulfill the purposes that we have all come here in order to fulfill. So that is why I came on here today, is I wanted to specifically talk about guides. I should make sure I didn't miss any other comments. So that is the story. So if you do know your guides, have you tried assigning them an individual sign? If you don't know your guides, the class is happening next week. Like I said, next Wednesday. So by the time I come on here next week, it will have happened. And I'm excited about it, and I love teaching it, and I love sharing the things that work for me with other people, so that they can work for them and help them create the positive changes that they want to see. So that is what I'm here for. So this weekend, even if you don't know your guides, I want you to just assign a sign to a guide in a specific area, even if you don't know who they are and what their name is, and just see what happens. See if that sign comes through. If you don't know my assign a sign, you can go to the YouTube channel, and I have a whole video on assign a sign. It's also in my book, The Universe is Talking to You, the assign a sign exercise. Just test it out, see what you think. And if you're interested in sort of really going deeper and getting to know specific guides, then check out that class. I thank you all for being here with me, and I am glad to be back. I will be back again next Thursday live. That's June 1st, I think, actually. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's June 1st. And I'm lining up some fun friends to join me on some of these weekly spirit boosts as well. So stay tuned for that. And have an amazing and beautiful and wonderful weekend. Assign a sign to one of your guides or to the collective and see what happens this weekend. Report back to me. You can always find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Leave a comment, message me. I love to hear from you. And I thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful and amazing rest of your weekend. Do something that brings you joy. And I will see you back here next Thursday. Bye, everyone.